important. I signed by executive order the office of an Inspector General. We have had, thank you, we have had fraud in DSS, we've had fraud in DMV, we have had waste and abuse in all of our agencies. The problem is, people see it. A lot of state employees see problems in their agencies and they can't say anything because they're worried that they're going to get in trouble. What we have done is we are taking the auditors and the investigators out of every agency. They are coming together to staff this. We're using administrative staff we already have. We hired one director. He used to be over the audit council for the state. He was over my fiscal crisis task force when I first came in. He is going to be our new Inspector General. We're going to have an 800 hotline. You can call, a state employee can call, anybody can call. If you see waste, fraud, or abuse, you can call and you've got a direct line straight to the governor's office to make sure that we deal with this. All reports that come out will be public. You will get to read and see all of those. But what is better than that is when you look at the fraud that we've seen, an agency can look at their own agency and kind of see where something went wrong. An Inspector General can look across all agencies and say, what is the underlying factor that is making this happen in all of these agencies? And he can actually make changes across the board that lead to prevention. That's the key, because the amount of dollars we've lost in fraud is embarrassing. But it can stop. So we did that Friday. That was another great move. In these few weeks, we've announced job companies coming into South Carolina or expansions in the Low Country, in the Midlands, and in the Upstate, and we're continuing to do it. And yesterday was a great day because we announced Southwest Airlines is now in Charleston and in Greenville, because the goal is we want people flying out of South Carolina, not out of Savannah and Charlotte, and now that's going to start.
Pleasant surprise to see you there.
Thank you very much. Just so people know, the Army Wives show, if you don't know about it, it's filmed in Charleston. And so anytime there is an opportunity for me to brag on South Carolina or brag on our military, we are going to do that. But for the record, that was filmed prior to me becoming governor. That was not during office time. It was actually done the first week in January, and it was a lot of fun. So thank you very much.
Since you brought it up, you were working on filming that show, do you think any of those people in any production capacities were union members?
I don't know. They probably should have been. I think that they do have union members in the film industry.
You said you're against unions. I'll let that go. Being a member of Teamsters Local 509 here in Aiken. My question is, with you saying there's new businesses coming, what do you think is a fair wage?
First of all, let's address the unions. What I completely support is that we are a right-to-work state. We allow you to decide what you're going to do. And what we also make sure of is the reason we don't have a whole lot of unions is we've got great employers, we've got great employees, and we encourage a dialogue and communication. So what I'm trying to do is keep us competitive in the way that we continue to be a right-to-work state, and I'll continue to do all that I can to do that. And that still allows you to be in a union. You know, a competitive wage is whatever the private sector decides is a good competitive.
Very popular subject nowadays. A conservative estimate of our unfunded liability of these 4 state pension plans is $13 billion. I'm grateful our Senator Ryberg has given so much of his personal attention to this. My question is, what thoughts do you have about improving our pension plan, making it competitive with private industry, and reducing our unfunded liability?
This is what you will hear me, and I started talking about this last week. You're going to continue to hear me going forward. We have had our head in the sand when it comes to the retirement system. 10 years ago, we were completely solvent. We had a $178 million liability. It was manageable. We could do it. Now we have what they say is $13 billion. we think it could be as much as $40 billion. We can't sustain that. We've got a real problem in South Carolina. The group that's going to feel it the most are those state employees that haven't been hired yet. They're going to have to work longer, they're going to have to pay more, and they're going to get less. That's just the reality. The group that is protected are the retirees. A promise has been made to the retirees, and that promise will be kept. So we will make sure that we take care of the retirees. What we have to do is say, how are we going to get us solvent again? That's not going to be comfortable, and it's going to hurt a little bit. But I will tell you, your number one rock star to say, I'm not burying my head in the sand anymore, is Senator Ryder. We can't let that happen on South Carolina's watch. So what you are going to see over the next few weeks is we are going to have to make some changes. And it is going to be to where state employees are going to have to feel it. But our goal is, I want the current state employees we have to get a retirement. At this point, they're not going to get it. At this point, we will run out. This is actually protecting state employees because they have put money in with the promise of not getting it out. Senator Ryberg and I will continue to work on this, and I can promise you we are going to make the changes once and only once, and when we do it, we're going to do it right. And so I thank you again, and we'll make sure.
Hey, Governor Haley, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
I'm a pediatric physical therapist and have been for nearly 20 years in this county. I am also a small business owner for the last 7 years. My concern is, I have a couple of concerns. The first one is the caps that are going to be in place April 1st, limiting how many therapy visits, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy that the children of the state can receive that do have Medicaid funds, either primarily or secondarily. As a small business owner, come April 1st, I stand to lose 12 clients that day if that is not extended. I know there are appeals in place. They're supposed to be easy, but so far that has not been an easy process. My question is, how is someone in Columbia more qualified to determine what is medically necessary for a child than their pediatric certified pediatrician, their board certified pediatrician, or a specialized pediatric physical therapist like myself that has had continuing education for the last 20 years? That's my first question. Secondly, what is going to happen to those children come April 1st when they're not getting any therapy, and how are those parents going to be able to sustain that when they've been getting therapy? And I'm not talking about children that are mildly delayed. I'm talking about children that are learning to walk, to talk, to feed themselves, and that sort. So that's one question, if you want to address that now.
Sure. Well, and first of all, thank you for what you do. And understand that what we're trying to do is we're not trying to cut children off from therapies. We are definitely trying to get fraud and abuse out of the system, because what we found is certain providers have actually billed Medicaid for over 24 hours in just one day, which shows that they're overbilling and we're having problems. Any child that needs therapy will not be denied therapy. That is it's in the rules. All they have to do is get the approval from their general pediatrician that says, yes, this child needs continued therapy, and they will be accepted. But we do have to have those rules in place so that it's not abused. So there is no child we're turning down. The number one goal is they have to go to their pediatrician. If their pediatrician says, yes, they have to have this therapy and this therapy, they're sending that letter in, and we're letting those kids get those therapies. It's just more of an accountability measure. And I know it's difficult on you as a business owner, but it's as we're trying to clean up the system, it's our way of doing it. And I will tell you, this Medicaid reform is going to allow the HHS director to negotiate more directly with you. It's going to empower you in the end so that you're not lumped in with everybody else.
That is my second point, is that I've never been approached by anyone in the HHS to negotiate with me. And there is a reduction coming April 4th for us, a 3% across-the-board reduction, in addition to the caps. And then there's rumors that there's more reduction coming the new fiscal year, which is July 1st. I would welcome that negotiation. I would love for someone from DHHS to call me as a small business owner, because I'm gravely concerned as a small business owner. And I know that you support small businesses. I'm a woman-owned small business owner at that. And generally across the state, those of us that do pediatric therapy are women-owned businesses. And so,
Are you a member of an association?
Of the association?
Yeah, of the Physical Therapy Association or any of those?
Yes.
You need to tell them they will be at the table for you. So that is who he's going to work on. He is going to negotiate. The reason he hasn't is because he hasn't been able to. That's what we're trying to do so that he can start to talk to you about what you're doing and how you're doing. What I will tell you is that as we are kind of leaning on people and leaning on businesses and leaning on government, we have to lean on providers too. Everybody's got to go through the burn. That's part of it. But the goal is to make you stronger in the end. And it's easy to say, no, don't cut me, don't cut me. What I'm going to ask you is have a little bit of faith in the fact that we want to provide better health for the least amount of money. And that goal is actually to make sure it goes to you and not go into middlemen in the process, and to make it more transparent. So get your association to meet with Tony Keck. He's meeting with a lot of other groups right now. Let's start the negotiation process. Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Haley. I'm Mary for Elizabeth McKinnon-Smith, and I have a two-part question to you, please, ma'am.
Okay.
One, I have a comment. When I was a 7th grader in Marbury County, one of our poorest counties in South Carolina, and I went to visit the Senate and the House as a 7th grader, which I'm not anymore, I was appalled at the behavior that I saw as a 7th grader. So when I knew that you were going to make them more accountable, I thought it took a long time, but yay. So I was really excited about that, because then their feet propped up, they were running around between each other, they weren't paying attention, and I thought the bills they were introducing were important. So I was really proud to see that. The second thing I have to do is also personal as well as professional. There are a lot of people, I have a daughter, you met her, and she walked up to you and said, Governor Haley, I want a job. My child does not want to sit at home, get an SSI and Medicaid. She's bright, she wants to work. And so when we got to return to work, we have a lot of people with disability challenges who really do want to work. They don't want to sit home and collect a check. They want to be productive. They want to live on their own. And I think as we return people to work, I brought you my resume again, but I want to go to work. I have a disability that's not visually seen, but I have a master's degree, and I want to go to work. I cried when I took my food stamps. I did not remember the PIN number when I pulled that card, because although I grew up in one of the poorest counties in South Carolina, I never had to take public assistance. We picked our vegetables and we lived on what we had within our means. I present this to you.
What I will say, I'm an optimist by nature. I have a lot of faith. And the faith goes back to the fact that we have a job to do, and that's to get people to work. We are going to focus in on our workforce centers so that no one has to sit in front of a computer and try and figure it out themselves. We're actually going to have people who are helping get those back to work. You are going to see an aggressive push of getting welfare recipients back to work. And in a year, you are going to see results. Starting to come down. The welfare number is starting to come down. Let's just keep hope in the fact that I'm going to work as hard as I can. Your legislature is going to work as hard as we can. We've got to prove results to you. It's not about talk anymore, it's about numbers. I'm going to turn around and make sure we produce numbers, and that's by making sure we look at the eligibility of those that get benefits are proven, not just given a check.
Good evening. I would address something that I don't have a dog in this fight, but I noticed an article in the paper the other day that small business restaurants and bars are going to be required to recycle. I wonder if it would be better to let them recycle voluntarily like a lot of us private citizens do, and not put that burden on them.
Well, and I will tell you by nature, I am for people and businesses not having mandates and doing what they think is right. You incentivize people to do well. You don't mandate them to want to do well.
6% of the income growth is funneled to the top 1%, with fully 1/3 going to the richest 1/10 of 1%. 538 billion tax cut surcharge package is for the wealthy. How can we justify all of these tragedies of people struggling? The homeless rates, just unbelievable, and that we can think that this is justified while we release the wealthy from any sense of contribution to alleviate this situation.
Well, and first of all, I appreciate your concern. What I will tell you is, it is a proven fact that if you reward people for being successful, they will be more successful. If you don't reward them for being successful, it is also a proven fact that the wealthy people have businesses. And if you give businesses cash flow, and if you give them profit margins, they don't go on vacation. The first thing they do is hire people. They grow their businesses. But the key is, the more that we in this country reward those for being successful, and they turn around and expand their businesses and hire more people, the unemployment number will go down. That's the key of what we're doing.
That has been the philosophy of the Republicans for a long time, and may I point out that all of these huge budget deficits are created in the Republican administration. Look at your numbers.
You know, and what I will tell you is, you have heard me say many times that Republicans and Democrats have both been at fault the past few years, but now we're talking about going forward, and we're going to fix it going forward.
To the little more taxing on the super wealthy.
Welcome back to Aiken.
Thank you. It's great to be back in Aiken.
When you were here last year campaigning, I remember you talking about tax reform. Can you please tell us where you stand on the fair tax for South Carolina?
Yes, first of all, tax reform is something I wish I could tell you right now we had gotten up to, but we've got a whole lot that we're dealing with. What my goal is, we are working with a couple of different think tanks. We are trying to make sure what we can do to make sure that we are the most competitive in the country when it comes to a tax system. It is up to me to provide leadership, so I will go to the legislature. I'm going to work on it all summer. Go to the legislature, give them a tax structure that works. The fair tax is on the table, and it is the closest thing we've seen because it rewards people and businesses for being successful.